Okay, just like the halberd video, I've actually wanted to make a creepy claw video for a while now, but alas, I just kind of just scrapped the whole damn thing, and that's mostly because of one thing, the Caustic Fang nerf. Initially, after Insignia Gem and Caustic Fang got nerfed, I couldn't even, look at it, or even use the creepy claw anymore. And if a weapon needs to use two overpowered accessories, then the weapon isn't good. But it did give some buffs over time, and some of the stuff I mentioned earlier did get kind of fixed. Well, except Caustic Fang though, it's still pretty good. Even, I don't know why I reacted to so much, but... So I guess it's time to use the weapon again. The Creepy Claw is a weapon that you can obtain from the Creepy Crab boss at the Desert of Foreboding Terror, with a 1 in 4 drop chance, or around that. Heavy is a side swipe with a poison projectile that travels pretty slow, but does a decent amount of damage with the blade. Also, once you activate your heavy, every hit you do for a couple seconds after that will inflict venom onto the enemy. This weapon already sounds pretty good, and it's a venom weapon? Sign me up. That was really bad. Okay, anyways, well, with this information in mind, let's get to the stats. The Creepy Claw is a venom type weapon that has a base damage of 24, a base range of 8, 10% extra crit chance, and 30% more heavy cooldown. Surprisingly, there aren't that many stats, only 4, if you don't count the element, of course. Alright, now some other stuff I'd like to know about the weapon or anything around it. This one was very recent. If you guys didn't know, for a short while between late November to late December, I think from just old Discord messages, Creepy Crab got its boss classification taken away, so for a short while you could go to the Desert of Foreboding Terror with a scary atmosphere and disgusting cockroaches, expecting anything to jump scare you from any moment and stare you down at the I don't even know, man, just to see some small ass Mr. Normal clone that looks like a baby. It was honestly pretty funny, I can't lie. But eventually, he got his boss status back. And also, one last thing, back then Creepy Crab's venom gland drop was way lower than it is today. Back then, it was around 30 to 35% chance, while today it's guaranteed. Here's a screenshot from Trello and from the modern day to show for it. Anyways, enough of that rambling. Let's get into the build, shall we? Honestly, this weapon really shocked me when the crit and normal builds were very equal in terms of DPS on metal dummies. And despite the Creepy Claw being a mid-game melee, it did really fucking well on Mondo endgame bosses, which I'll show in a little bit. Anyways, the crit builds look like this. Since this weapon has a natural 10% crit, you can use other accessories you normally wouldn't use on crit builds because they don't give any crit chance, which is fun. But for the non-crit build, it's nothing special. I just chose my Prime Brain build and slapped the Caustic Fang over the Night Talisman. But trust me when I say this, even though it looks pretty basic on the surface, this shit is very effective. Alright, now time to test this weapon on some bosses. Despite this weapon being obtainable during the mid-game, I'm going to use this so-called mid-game weapon on endgame bosses. So for Kata, I'm going to use the non-crit build, but use Mono Ring over Rubber Band. And it does really well even after the Kata buffs. The next boss is Old Fart, and we'll be using the crit build. Honestly, this one really shocked me. I thought this would have done way worse, but it got a 50-second Mondo Old Fart kill. This crit build is honestly one of the best things I've ever created. Alright, final thoughts about the weapon. I think this weapon is pretty cool, and honestly, I had a really fun time with this weapon over a bunch of other weapons I reviewed in the series. The weapon being able to give Venom is honestly such a blessing, since I can actually use different accessories for once, which is already a game changer itself, as well as a 10% crit chance. It's such a random stat to put on a weapon like this, but I think it's awesome, dude. Anyways, time to give some ratings. I give it a 7 out of 10 for obtainment methods. I think having a weapon like this in Desert of Foreboding Terror is very fitting, and the weapon dropping from Crab is better, but sadly I have to deduct some points because Creepy Crab is probably one of the worst bosses in this game. I give it a 8 out of 10 for the weapon itself. This weapon can be forgettable sometimes, but the times you remember the weapon and use it, it's really fun, and for a mid-game weapon, it excels at what it does. That's probably because of the Caustic Fang and other Venom accessories that you can also obtain at the stage, but still, this weapon at its base is honestly pretty solid and one of the best short swords in the game. I give its gimmick a 9 out of 10, since Venom is one of the least used elements for a weapon in the game, and this one really does it justice by actually making its heavy useful in any type of damage build. This is honestly one of my favorite weapons in the game. Overall, this weapon is a good 8.3 out of 10. This weapon is such a masterpiece in nearly all fronts, and I would 100% recommend this to any player. And with that, this is the end of the video. If you really like what you're seeing, make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you beautiful fellers next time. Goodbye.